Welcome to the Teamwork Arts podcast, ladies and gentlemen. The idea here, of course, is to go behind the scenes and try and figure out the thoughts that animate the actions of the people who make the art. And today, we are privileged. We are privileged to have Kishwar Desai with us. Ma'am, thank you very much. First of all, it's an honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for calling me.
So many careers, so much pogo sticking, and yet you remain as prolific as ever. There was a 2-decade journalistic career, and now, of course, there's books to write and things to say. Let's start from the beginning. At that point of time, journalism was a very respectable profession, and news, as one of the distinguished news people of the industry said, that at that point of time, खबरें टहला करती थी और रिपोर्टर्स जाकर खबरों को पकड़ के लाते थे, और अब वो खबरें जो हैं वो सिमट के रह गई हैं स्टूडियो के अंदर. You of course belong to the tribe that usually went out and got the. It must have been a very exciting time at the dawn of journalism, so to speak, in India.
Yes, I think it was. I think it was not only an exciting time, it was also a time for creating a new sense, especially where women were concerned.
Sure.
Because when I started my career, which was from Chandigarh, there were quite a few women, of course, nationally, but in the smaller towns, there were not too many. So I still remember when we would enter the press club, suddenly, 3 or 4 of us women, there would be like pin drop silence, and all the men would look at us as though, ye kahan se aa gayi, that kind of thing. And going out and reporting, it was still unknown phenomena for people that you were talking to, that these women have come, why have they come? And there were strange attitudes that one had to occasionally deal with. But I think it was a very exciting time, because you're right, we had to go out and find the news. We had to actually go and do our research, which I find no longer is the case, because people, breaking news comes on your mobile phone, it comes via tweet, and it's just announced, and you don't even know whether there is any ground. We were not allowed to put a story in. I started with print journalism.
Yes.
We were not allowed to put a story out till it was thoroughly researched, and at the desk, every line would be scrutinized. My God, every second line would be cut out. Where have you got this information from?
Absolutely.
So I think we learned the hard way, but it was a wonderful way to learn. And even when I went into television with NDTV is where I started, and then worked on TV Today, then had my own production house, even ran a television channel. These were very exciting times, because everything we did was also new. There were no 24/7 channels at that time.
And the buzz and the tingle in the fingertips, I still remember, because transitioning from one art form, so to speak, to the other, from only writing and sitting down and thinking because it would only be published the next day, to actually being, at the forefront of breaking it. And yet, I think, I truly believe that information is passive, which is why we are bombarded with it in today's day and age with such intensity. But knowledge is active, because knowledge has to be gained.
Yes.
And I think the dignity of information was very much alive at the time when you were processing that information and passing on that knowledge to people.
Yes, and I think I always had the good fortune of working with very hard taskmasters, both when in my print career, later on in even the television career, because people would want us to produce our best. Even though there was not a proliferation, the competition may not have been as intense, but somehow we all had a sense that we were doing something important. And so preparation was deep. And very often for one story, we would traverse the whole of India, collecting little bits here, there, and all that. And or even abroad, we were sent abroad as well. I didn't personally go, but at NDTV, a lot of my colleagues used to go.
Sure.
So I think we had a sense of what we were creating was very important, or what we were presenting to the people was very important.
And I still remember the aspirational value of it, because at that point of time there was Apan Menon down at NDTV. There was SP Singh who was saying, "Ye thi khabre aaj tak intezar kijiye kal tak."
And I was lucky to have worked with both. So it was really nice, because at SP Singh was doing the evening. There was no TV Today at that time. There was only a morning program which I used to anchor, called Good Morning Today.
Yes.
And there was an evening show which used to say Aaj Tak, which which S.P. Singh used to do. So, it's great to have worked with names like that. And they were so, they were mentors. They were mentors, and they were also people who were able to guide a whole generation of people to come up. So it was very exciting.
Which is where I will lay down my objective interviewer side and say that I've been an absolutely rabid fan of Good Morning Today. Good Morning Today was the one that we used to switch on every time.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's absolutely so. So it's actually a personal privilege as well to
Thank you.
Which is why the questions, because they've been roaming in my head for so long, and finally I get the opportunity.
Decades.
But having worked in that space at that point of time myself at a very small level, I know for a fact that, as you said, mentorship was extremely important. There was a buzz.
Yes.
Everyone was helping everyone out. It was a collaborative experience.
Yes.
Now that seems to have been internalized quite a lot.
Yeah.
Not just maybe in the TV sphere or in the journalistic sphere, but even outside in art per se. Would you agree that it's become a lot more intrinsic than being a community experience?
Yeah, I think somewhere, I'm not talking about the art world, because apart from the space that I occupy as a writer, as an author, I'm not so well experienced about, people who are painters or, performers and things like that.
Literature is an art.
Literature, in the field of literature, literature is a lonely profession. Sure. And possibly having worked in television with 24/7 deadlines, and also my last job was running a television channel, and I think if you ever want to be cured of your fascination with television, one thing you can do is run a television channel, and then you realize that so many decisions are taken out of pure commerce. I came from a very idealistic background because I wanted to make good programs, and at last someone had given me a whole platform on which I could create this sort of wonderful programming that I could do.
Sure.
But what I realized is that unless there is hard commerce, there is enough space for the advertising guys to come in and support you. There is enough reason. So if you're doing avant-garde stuff, sometimes it does not sell. I think we were a little ahead of our times at that time. So having done that, I realized that writing, and that was a very collaborative space again. And I still for me, the biggest joy is to meet somebody or to see a face on television today who is a well-known anchor, someone that I had given a break to, or someone that I had hired. So I think I get a great thrill. Writing is lonely. This is something you do on your own. So I think the collaborative space here comes later. Sure. What we are doing, for example, through literature festivals, through the marketing exercise. But when you're writing, you're really writing because you're inhabiting a space which is in your mind.
For sure.
It may be that you're working with a lot of material and a lot of you've done your research, but you need those long hours, when you're totally by yourself and undisturbed. That's why COVID was fantastic for me. My new book, which is on Devika Rani, I wrote during the COVID time, where I was start writing at 8 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was coming, nobody was going. There was no jhadu pocha, so I could just spread my papers all over the house. I had 2 suitcases full of notes, which I'd gathered over 15 years, and I could then just sit down and write the book. So, but that's a lonely job.
But it is so spectacularly beautiful to listen to someone saying that they've got 2 suitcases full of research for one
book. Only one book. And these are huge suitcases, enormous.
When all you hear is, I got an idea and I put it down on paper. It's I do believe that.
Well, novels can be written like that.
Of course they can.
Yes.
And yet, even in novels, even in fiction, there needs to be a kernel of truth, is it not?
Yes.
The initial formation of ideas, I think, is extremely, extremely important for that. And having read most of your books, especially the one with about Sunil Dutt and Nargis,
Darling
it was so beautiful to see someone who's respected information. The dignity of information that came out from the words was absolutely phenomenal, and it's so wonderful and refreshing to see someone who respects information so much.
I worked very hard on Darling because that
and it reflected.
that was a very tough book to write, because both of them were no more, neither Nargis nor Sunil Dutt, and very much what I found in Devika Rani's case, not many people actually knew their real self. They had very little idea of who they were. So even though I went out and interviewed loads, I had 50 hours of tape, which then I had to sit and transcribe by myself. So I would sometimes be in tears saying, what have I gotten myself into? But I spent off and on maybe a year in Bombay tracking down information. Of course, we were lucky. We managed to get access to the letters and diaries and to the family and so on. But all of this also meant that the more information you have, the more you need to sit and sort it all out, and then to put it into a credible narrative. But I think that's where the years in television really has helped me.
Sure.
Because when we used to go out and do a story and you have a deadline, and even though by the end when I was working with NDTV, I had switched more to features. I preferred features.
Yes, of course.
But those kind of narratives also, you need a beginning, a middle and an end. And you don't have much time. You have to put the narrative together maybe in like half an hour. You come, you sit at your desk and you very quickly, track what is the footage, and then go through it and then quickly say, okay, this is what I'll start with, this is what I end, this is what. So, very quickly one learned, our 20 years in television taught me very fast to figure out what the narrative was.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where I've been a little lucky with my books, and people always say you write them very fast. I write them very fast because for me, when I've done my research, the narrative just kind of works itself out.
The thread works
itself out, and then I know how the chapters will evolve.
Of course.
Because then I don't have to struggle.
When we were having our training at the India Today group, the BBC would come to train us, and they would. There was this little simple question, which was, "What you write pass the who cares test?" And that was what it was. But Darling Ji, I was fascinated by the fact that these two layered personalities, they were larger than life. There was Sunil Dutt with his political career, and of course their story was fraught. And the way that you brought out the nuance and the way that you treated it without prejudice, so to speak, because it's very easy to be swayed, right? Was that a difficult process?
No, I don't think so, because I think both the characters, I found a lot of sympathy for them. I have to say, which was not the case with Devika. With Devika, the sympathy came when I delved deeper and deeper into her story, and I saw how she had been maligned, as a lot of women are.
Sure.
And similarly, I found the same case with Nargis, because she had an affair with Raj Kapoor earlier. So a lot of people used to look at her from that prism.
Sure.
And the fact that her mother, Jadan Bai, was a singer and, a courtesan and so on. So she had to carry that baggage.
Sure.
So I think for me, I was able to empathize with Sunil Dutt also, because he came from a family that was disrupted completely by partition.
Yes.
So when he came to Bombay, he had only 50 rupees in his pocket.
Sure.
So I think their narratives made me look at, it was a narrative of what is possible in India. We have a lot of these stories coming out now about social mobility.
Yes.
But in this particular case, I could see the social mobility in front of me, because she starts from literally the daughter of a courtesan, which is not and then works herself up and lands up in the Rajya Sabha.
Absolutely.
And he comes as a refugee from partition, 50 rupees, and lands up in the Lok Sabha.
Absolutely.
So, for me, this was a narrative which was all about the possibilities. One is a Hindu, one is a Muslim.
Yes.
So it also worked at that level, that how well they negotiated their lives together. And I think there was a very important example in that they were able to celebrate their festivals together. There was never any falling out over the fact that they came from different religions. So this is the beauty of India, where people can live from different social stratas.
Sure.
And even when they met, there were huge dichotomies between them, because he was like a struggling film star, not even a film star, he was a struggling actor, nobody. And she was the reigning queen of Indian cinema. So I'm saying that, their trajectories are very interesting to plot.
Sure.
And to bring together. And I was helped vastly by the fact that both of them used to write, and they'd kept diaries. And that was where I was able to bring in, not gossip, because that was something I didn't want to bring in at all.
Sure.
I wanted to bring in an authenticity, and I was fortunate that I found those papers and diaries and letters, which the family shared with us, and I was able to work that book.
I also think that story becomes even more relevant in today's constricted times, does it not?
Yes.
Would you have been able to tell the story now, you think? I mean, obviously, when you...
I don't think there's a problem with a story like that because, the environment, this is the wonderful thing about India. India works at many levels. We tend to get distracted by what is being shown on television.
Yes.
I used to be, and my husband and I are avid television viewers because I come from a TV background,
Yes.
and in our house the television is on all the time.
Sure.
Now I just watch the ticker. I do not listen to the news because then I make up my own mind what has happened, what has not happened. I read the newspapers. I have an informed opinion, which
Sure.
may be informed by different, I talk to a lot of people, and I keep my opinion as fodder for another day.
Of course.
Where it may reflect itself in the books I write or in the articles I write or something. But I don't worry about tweets and I don't worry about other things which are happening. So for me, it's very important that we remember that India is a multi-layered, multi-level country. So please don't take a single narrative. This
Yeah.
country will never ever have a single narrative.
And that's the problem, isn't it, ma'am? That the fact that even ignoring has become hard work now. There seems to
I
be
don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think you can continue to write because you are reflecting society. You're reflecting the society you have seen.
Sure.
I am reflecting the society I have seen
course.
as a writer,
course.
what I have experienced. I will never try and venture into areas I know nothing about.
For sure.
So, Darling Ji, I think, will always be a beautiful romantic love story, but it is also the story of Indian cinema. It's also the evolution of 100 years of Indian cinema, just like the Devika Rani book is about early Indian cinema and the contribution of this very passionate group of people who came together from all over the world
Of course.
to create great cinema. Both Nargis and Sunil Dutt did their own kind of cinema in their own way,
Sure.
and their contributions were enormous. So,
course.
and Jadan Bai, her mother, despite having been a courtesan and so on, she was one of the first, again, multifaceted producers. She could sing, she could act, she could write scripts,
Of course.
So I think we need to remember that
Sure.
these contributions cannot be forgotten.
Of course, and then of course there's a parallel line of the Devika Rani, Nicholas Roerich narrative.
Svetoslav.
Roerich. The whole thing about from the pinnacle of fame to being a virtual recluse.
Yes.
That must have been a very interesting progression to follow as well. No?
Yes. Well, in between, I did write 3 novels, which were on, about the detectives and a crime series, which fortunately is being made into a web series now. And I did also write a book on Jallianwala Bagh, which again is a forgotten. I think as a journalist, one of the things which impacts my writing is I like to look at hidden stories that nobody else is talking about,
Sure.
and it could come from anywhere. And I found that with Jallianwala Bagh as well, which was the book I wrote before the book on Devika, because we run this museum, as you know, on the partition
Yes,
of
of
India in Amritsar, and I found these amazing photographs dated back to 1919. That I knew nothing about.
Sure.
And I found nobody knew anything about them either. There were these photographs of what had happened in the area around the Golden Temple in 1919 outside of Jallianwala Bagh.
Sure.
And so many buildings had been burned, so many things had happened. So this sort of journalistic detective personality took over, and I wrote that book. And I think I'm amazed at how many people got back to me, including my own mother, who is now 87, and said she could not put that book down. And my father, who is now 97, and he said he did not know so much of the information that I had put in the book. And they were living very close, because Jallianwala Bagh happened 100 years ago, and my father's 97. So some of that information could have been passed on, but it had been completely covered up, both by the British very strongly, and by people at that time who feared of a terrible repercussion if they spoke the truth at that time. And then, of course, the freedom struggle took over, and so many things. So a lot of things that happened in Jallianwala Bagh, happened in Amritsar, were covered up and not known. So I think that was again a very exciting book for me to write, but that was a different kind of research. Sure. Devika Rani, of course, Devika Rani, as I said, had started much earlier, 15 years back, when I started working on Darling Ji. It was a parallel story, another very strong, very ambitious woman, but her narrative turned out to be very different because I discovered the abuse that she had faced and all the patriarchy that she had faced, which Nargis would have also faced, of course, from the early eras, times. But then she was protected by the fact that her mother was there,
for sure,
and was also a very strong and dominant matriarch,
course,
if you like, of that period. Whereas Devika didn't have any such figure in her life, and she was literally had to fend for herself. And she did a damn good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, I would certainly like to use that very same phrase for the way that you've told the story, because stories being told as a damn good job are absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
So, one last question, of course, which is that, the times that we live in, with the attribution, with the blacks and whites, the grays are not getting discussed as much as they would probably deserve to be, because we live life in grays. You think telling stories is becoming a little difficult in these times?
Not at all. I don't think so. I think it depends on what you want to tell, what is the narrative. Every story has shades of grey. Every story has either an inspirational component or a despondent component in it. Right now, I'm the chair of a jury that is judging a non-fiction prize.
Right.
And I am reading a lot of books which are coming out from India, and I am amazed at the scope and the vision and the breadth of things and this is a prize meant for women. The women are writing. I'm so excited. It's no longer, as I keep saying, a singular narrative. They're looking at India from different ways. There's a book about tribes, there's a book about food, there's a book about, everything under the sun. So I'm saying that, there's so much still to be written about in India, and the shades of grey will always be there. They appear, yes, a lot in novels, which is my next book, which I'm writing, and they appear everywhere. But every person has shades of grey. There is no way that you can demarcate and say this is a black and white figure, and I have found that consistently. Even though Devika is my heroine of my last book, but she has shades of grey. Certain decisions she takes, you may not appreciate them, but then you realize that if a man had taken the same decisions, you would have taken a completely different point of view. Oh, yeah, he's so smart. Look what he did. But because a woman is taken, you'll be judgmental and you'll say, why did she do this? She's so wicked, So this kind of dual standard also impacts the grays.
For sure.
It depends on how are you looking at things.
For sure.
From what spectrum are you looking at it. Same thing can look very good, same thing can look very bad. And I think as a writer, we take all these things in our stride, and we have to include that in whatever we write.
I think it's the undercurrents that make everything so exciting.
Yes, it's a very exciting time.
Yes, and we tend to get bogged down by what we see, but there's always the other side. And
I think every moment in life comes with its own challenges, and whatever you do it well, or you do it with the way in your beliefs and your way, it will work. This is my belief.
Golden rays of sunshine, I tell you. It's, the golden rays of hope are extremely, extremely important to light up these dark times that we live in.
I hope so.
And thank you for providing some slivers at least. That's extremely important to us.
Great to talk to you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do read the book. Darling Ji, if you haven't read, is a spectacular exposition of personalities and of Bollywood, which of course we seem to be obsessed with. The Longest Kiss, of course.
The Life and Times of Devika Rani, which is the new book.
You should certainly turn the pages on that one, because that taste is delicious. So Kishma Desai with us. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back, of course. For that, you'll just have to wait. Thank you for listening. This is the Teamwork Arts podcast.